pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and take the roll, please.
Trustee Spurling. Here. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Hines.
Yes.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yeah.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Here.
All right, we're all here this evening. We'll go ahead and move on to public participation this evening. The first item, as usual, is our public comment. Any member of the public that's here tonight that wishes to address the board, you may do so at this time. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item B, which is a public hearing for the tax levy of 2013. And I guess I'll open up the public hearing and ask Administrator Zolfel for his summary.
Thank you. Really don't have much to add other than since the last meeting, we have adjusted the levy to take out the 1.7% per the board direction. And what we've left in is our estimate of the new growth, which is approximately $11 million in new EAV. So with that, we would be happy to answer any questions or if anybody is here to speak.
And this is an item on the agenda this evening, so if the board has questions, we can cover that during the meeting. But for the public hearing, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the board on the public hearing for the tax levy 2013? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and move on to hopefully item C this evening, which is a proclamation designating December 2013 as Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month. And I'll go ahead and read this and entertain a motion to approve. Whereas motor vehicle crashes kill 956 people in Illinois during 2012, and whereas hundreds of those deaths involved a driver impaired by alcohol and/or drugs, and whereas the December holiday season is traditionally one of the most deadly times a year for impaired driving, and whereas thousands of families across the state and the nation, holidays are a time to remember loved ones lost. And whereas organizations across the state and the nation are joined with the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over and other campaigns that foster public awareness of the dangers of impaired driving and anti-impaired driving law enforcement initiatives. And whereas the Village of Montgomery is a proud partner with the Illinois Department of Transportation Division of Public Traffic Safety and other traffic safety groups in the effort to make our roads and streets safer. Now therefore, I, Matt Brawley, President of the Village of Montgomery, do hereby proclaim December 2013 as Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month in Montgomery, and do call upon all citizens, government agencies, business leaders, and all public and private institutions to promote awareness of the impaired driving problem, to support the programs and policies to reduce the number of incidents of impaired driving, and to promote safer and healthier behaviors regarding the use of alcohol and other drugs this December holiday season and throughout the year. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So move. Second.
Moved and seconded. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Hines.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling. Yes. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Moving on, the consent agenda. I'll briefly run through the items. If there aren't any questions afterwards, we'll entertain a motion to approve. The executive session minutes of October 14th and October 28th, minutes of the special village board meeting of November 8th, executive session minutes of November 8th, accounts payable through November 19th of this year, accounts receivable report October 2013, ordinance 1588, then a recommendation from the Plan Commission on PC 2013-014, and then ordinance 1596. And if there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Bond, second by Trustee Youngerman. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling. Yes. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Hines.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
And that carries unanimously. Moving down to items for separate action. The first item this evening is fairly benign. It's the village scheduled meetings for 2014. And again, I'll turn it over to Jeff for any comments or questions.
Thank you. It follows our normal format, second and fourth Mondays, the Tuesday in between. We have left on the June, July, and August, both meetings. We usually end up canceling one, but in case we need them, it's better to have them on there and cancel them. Otherwise, we have to do a special board meeting, so that's why you'll see them there. Otherwise, we would answer any questions.
Are there any questions of the board or of staff on this?
December 22nd. December 22nd. Is that a normal?
No, we usually end up canceling the second one in December also.
Okay.
If there isn't any other comment, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Youngerman, second by trustee Hines. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling. Yes. Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Hines.
Yay.
Excellent. You can all go home and hand that to your wives. Item B this evening is ordinance 1594. Or, I know that you handle it. I'm talking about these guys over here. Recommendation of the plan, I'm sorry. Item B, ordinance 50, that's what I get for making a joke. 1594, adopting the tax levy for 2013. This is the first reading, so we won't take action on this evening. If you guys would like the same summary again, Jeff is willing to offer that, or Justin, do you have further comments on that?
There are, the ordinance 1594 does include not only the general levy, it also includes the SSA levies. In your packet, so approximately $450,000 in SSA levies.
And how does that compare to last year's SSAs?
The SSA numbers for this year are the same.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. So from this ordinance, we can say realistically that we've frozen your taxes as far as for what the last year's rates are. If they see an increase, it's an increase based upon the equalized assessed value of the property, correct?
In theory.
In theory, yes.
Okay.
We've estimated the new growth to the best of our abilities.
That's fine, that's
So-
fine.
Try to just capture that.
On the SSAs, I know that a majority of the SSA funds are related to the basins. Has there been any carryover or balances remaining from the previous years as far as the SSAs?
I can answer that. There is a balance in the SSA accounts. We're trying to build up a reserve fund.
Okay,
They vary depending on the size of the basins and the number of basins within the SSA. So there are funds carried over, but the levy amount is intended to
we're still trying to get that reserve fund then? as far-
slowly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question also. If I read the numbers correctly, it looked like there might be an increase in the Belmarais SSA.
I didn't believe there was, trustee Bond, but I can verify that after the meeting with
Okay, it,
our finance director.
good,
The intent was to hold them
okay.
level to last year.
I have a question regarding the Route 30 TIF number 1 fund. This is the TIF fund, is that the
The one between,
inland property?
yeah, the inland property there.
Has there been any work done?
We have done some. I mean, we reimbursed ourselves for some of the fees in setting it up. And then we were donated a piece of property behind Grandma's table there. And we spent some money grading that and seeding that, so that would be a low-maintenance item. I'm trying to recall if there's any other work we've done out there.
There's some work that we contemplate, for example, doing some televising of the storm sewer that drains the entire property to assess its condition, because as this project is delayed, we may want to advance that work, and so it'd be nice to be able to do some of that type of work. We had talked about it in the past, and I think it'll be up again for consideration during the CIP review.
How long ago was that TIF established? With all the talk of the 23 years? recently?
2003? Is
It
that,
was established July 10th of 2006.
oh, 2006. There you go. Yeah.
In relation to the SSA funds, I know that there are residents who are extremely sensitive to what they're being charged. Can we do everything that we possibly can to make sure that everything is as accurate as possible? I know in the past there were a couple little mistakes, and with the sensitivity to the fees and the SSAs, as far as some of the residents are concerned,
We check and review. I'd be hard pressed to tell you that we may not make a mistake from time to time, as trustee Bond may have already discovered one. But our intent is to review the numbers and only levy the amount we need to complete the work as adopted by the village in our basin program.
okay? Thank
I
you.
hope that didn't sound evasive. It
No, no, no,
wasn't
no.
meant to be.
I mean, you know what I'm talking.
I am.
Are there any other questions on the tax levy? And at the next board meeting, you'll report back on the Balmaray
Yes.
before we vote to approve it. Okay, like I said, this is the first reading, so unless there's further comment, we'll go ahead and move on to item C this evening, which is the recommendation of the Plan Commission on PC 2013-011. It's a special use, Doyle Signs Amendment to the special uses for a plan unit development. And this coincides with D, correct? And with that, I'll ask Senior Planner Chipman for kind of your synopsis or update on this.
All right, thank you very much, President Brawley. Before you this evening, you have two items. You have the Plan Commission recommendation, and then the next item is the actual ordinance. This, if you recall from the Committee of the Whole meeting, was a discussion as to whether Aldi and Walgreens would be able to raise their sign, make it, I guess not raise it, but make it a taller sign in total height from about 10 feet 9 inches to 13 feet 10 inches, something in that range. At the Committee of the Whole, it was discussed that the Plan Commission had recommended denial. However, the village board, a majority of the village board felt that this was something that they'd like to approve, and therefore we have brought back the ordinance as well. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have.
Excellent. Are there any questions of Planner Chipman, Senior Planner Chipman? Sorry. So the first item is the recommendation of the Plan Commission. It's non-binding. If you're for the sign, should you vote one way or another on the recommendation, or you can vote to accept the recommendation like, we got it?
Exactly correct.
Okay. Any questions on that? So the first one is kind of benign, actually. So if there aren't any other questions on that, or if that was clear enough, entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of the Plan Commission.
So moved?
Moved by trustee Bond,
Second.
second by trustee Lee. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
No.
Trustee Hines.
No.
Trustee Youngerman.
Just a second. I have a question, just to make sure. Just for clarification purposes, if we're approving this, we're approving the recommendation of the Plan Commission as far as for denial, correct?
You're accepting the recommendation.
As far as for denial?
Correct, but it's not a you're acknowledging that they did that. That's all this does.
So then I can deny it on the next one.
You can vote to reverse what they have done, yes, in effect.
Okay, yeah,
So yay.
yay.
Trustee Marisak.
No.
Steve, what were you on that? Was he?
Well,
yea
that's
or nay?
my
I-
question. If
Well, you voted, though. What was it?
I voted yay, but I want to, and
I think it's split.
Yeah, so I will go
I'm
ahead and.
confused here. Hold on a minute. Hold on. By approving this, I want them to be able to raise the height of their sign.
That's the next ordinance.
That's the.
So all I'm doing, like you said, all I'm doing is I'm saying the Plan Commission's done their job. Correct. Okay. Yay.
3-3?
Yep, and then I'll vote yes.
Okay.
So motion passes 4-3. Thank you for all the discussion on that.
Sorry about that.
Okay, item D this evening, I just had one question for you, a simple majority to amend the PUD?
Correct.
Okay. So is there any other discussion on the actual ordinance? And the ordinance is drafted such that if you vote in favor of this, you're allowing them to modify their sign. And we had discussions about that last week, so if there's any other comment or anything? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion
Motion?
by trustee Marisak, second by trustee Spurling. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz.
Yes.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, and that carries 6-0. Move on to item E this evening, which is a resolution 2013-029, authorizing the execution of a petition for supplemental order to the Illinois Commerce Commission for an extension of the project completion deadline regarding the ICC stipulated agreement 1640. And with that long introduction, I'll turn it over to Director of Public Works, Mike Pubens.
Thank you. In your pack tonight is a resolution authorizing a request for extension with the ICC. As you know, back in 2012, the village agreed to work with the ICC to make improvements to the Light Road rail crossing as part of a safety upgrade program initiated by the Illinois Commerce Commission. As part of that agreement, the village partners with the ICC, but the village gets all its costs reimbursed. So we currently have a December 6th deadline. The right-of-way acquisition is commonly a time-consuming process and is proving to be so with this. You have to go through appraisals and reviews of the appraisals, et cetera. So approval of this resolution will allow us to request an additional 8-month extension from the ICC, in which time we'll finish the right-of-way acquisition, finish the design work, the bidding, and the construction. So that would take us to August 6th of next year. So no changes in cost or money or reimbursement. We're just requesting a time extension. I'd be happy to answer questions.
I have a question. How confident are you that they will get this completed by August?
I am
I
very
realize it's not your responsibility, but
I'm very confident the village staff will do all it can do to make this happen, and we will work with other agencies to inspire them to come along with this. And we'll keep another resolution handy.
thank you.
Trustee Bond, did you have a?
My comment was along the same line, so thank you.
In all seriousness, it's hard to tell. We feel it's 8 months should be adequate. The appraisals are done. We're just going to start meeting with property owners soon to hopefully negotiate a sale price. So we believe 8 months is adequate, and staff is looking forward to wrapping this up as well. So
What's the likelihood that this light road is going to extend all the way through to Orchard at some point?
I think it really depends on the development down in that area. You know, at one time, we would have said it was highly likely, I think. Obviously, the development pace has slowed down quite a bit, but we felt that this was a good project to take on in consideration of what we hope will develop down in that area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if there isn't any other comment, I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2013-029.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by trustee Bond, second by trustee Youngerman. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
And that carries 6-0. Thank you. Move on to our last item for separate action this evening, which is Ordinance 1597, which is revising the village code regarding regulating in seize and impoundment of vehicles, sorry. This is a waiver of the first and passage on the second reading. And with that, I'll ask Attorney Anderson for a brief summary on this.
Thank you, and I'd offer to Chief Myers that he can jump in at any point if I misstate anything. This ordinance is being provided to you at the request of the police department. We currently tow vehicles for a variety of reasons involving what I would characterize as bad acts. In other words, offenders who violate certain crimes, their vehicles, when they do that, are towed. The vehicles can subsequently be recovered, but they have to pay the costs of the impoundment and the towing fees, and there is a fee that goes to the village for that as well. That's all been done according to statute. However, the statutes have been amended not that long ago, and in order to keep compliant with Illinois law on that, we have to amend our statute, or our ordinance, pardon me, to accommodate those changes. The good news, well, let's start with the bad news. The bad news was there were several lawsuits over this over the last few years. You were never one of them because of the way we designed the ordinance. However, that doesn't insulate you from the risk that you could become one. This ordinance and the statute that we created it based on creates a safe harbor that provides you some assurance that that won't happen to the village of Montgomery. The way that it does that is providing due process hearing rights to people whose vehicles are towed. That does mean that we have to set up hearing processes in order to comply with that. And so that's what this ordinance does. It provides for those mechanisms. Those mechanisms do involve, obviously, hearings, which means that we have to have hearing officers and attorneys to prosecute those. We have also set that up preliminarily, although not in final form. We did that for the Village of Sugar Grove. My office did that for the Village of Sugar Grove about 6 months or 8 months ago. The Village of Sugar Grove has tentatively agreed, if you wish to become a part of it, to split the costs with you on that, so that effectively the expense of having to do these sorts of hearings when they do come up is going to be half what it is normally for you. So I think that's a good example of intergovernmental agreement if you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, that of course is your absolute right, and then we would set it up here as well. One question that I oftentimes get is, well, where do the people have to go then for those hearings? Right now, it's set up at Sugar Grove Village Hall PD. Sometimes then people will subsequently ask, well, then are we sending our citizens to another town for their hearing? The reality is you're probably not. Most of these violators are not typically your residents, and they're not typically the cream of the crop of your residents either. So we're not too concerned about the fact that they have to drive a few extra miles to do that. But with that in mind, that's the first step, is to pass the ordinance. The second step is to bring back to you an intergovernmental agreement for your consideration if you want to do the half and half proposal. And if you don't, then we'll come back to you with a hearing process here in the village. And I can answer any questions.
Excellent. And this is only for, the hearing process stuff would only be for the impoundment?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions of Attorney Anderson or Chief Myers on this?
Are you supportive?
Yes, sir.
Of the intergovernmental?
Yes, absolutely.
They don't, if I'm not mistaken, they don't go to court here either, so they're traveling to go to court somewhere for their
Correct.
offense.
If they're going to court, they have to go up to the Aurora Branch Court. So either way, yeah.
I would move to approve.
Second?
Moved by Trustee Bond, second by Trustee Marisak. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And that carries 6-0. Move on to items for discussion this evening. The MEDC priorities, which we postponed from our marathon of a meeting last week. And with that, I'll ask Jeff Zolfel for his report.
Thank you. As you recall, in October, I submitted worksheets to you as well as to the MEDC board to fill out, just asking you to rank several categories of economic development, function there, for how you thought they should be prioritized. Tonight, I'd like to bring back to you kind of a summary of that. I put in your sheet a spreadsheet that had both the village board results and the MEDC results. I've put just a summary for the audience and some charts up there to help summarize things that I'll take you through. Again, the purpose was to provide feedback to the MEDC regarding the economic development priorities from this board. And then it provides me an ongoing discussion point when I meet with the MEDC director, that if I have direction from this board on what your priorities are, I can work with her on, is she spending time there? What has she accomplished? We meet once a month, one-on-one, the MEDC director and I, and plus I generally attend the MEDC board meeting and the BCEC meetings that are held there. So, participation, we had 6 village elected officials and 9 MEDC members submit forms back to me. So we had 15 people fill it out. Again, you were given 150 points to divide among 12 categories. 7 of the categories were related to business attraction. They were different areas of the town. So of the 12, 7 were related to attraction. Here's just average points from the village board. Shows it better on my screen. The top one is business attraction, and you can see that was by far the highest. Again, it was 7 of the 12 categories, so when you add them together, that adds up to the most. The second one was actually administrative. That was one of the ones where we told you had to give at least 20 points to that one. And then business retention slightly below that. And then you have the marketing, interagency, and fundraising beyond that. Then looking at the business attraction, I try to show you which categories you rank then out of that. The highest one was the industrial property. Second was the undeveloped Orchard Road. And third was the Douglas Road. In general, and this here is just what the elected officials said. This does not include the MEDC numbers. This is just your rankings. The majority of you kind of split pretty evenly among the categories. I mean, you may have, some of you did 10 points, some 15 points, but you were pretty general. There were 2 of you that varied from that, and that's kind of why these 3 stand out. One of you gave extra points to those 3, and one focused on 2 of those. And so that's kind of why those 3 jumped to the top of that. But that was the general ranking there. Based on that, here's what an average month would consist of. An average month being approximately 160 hours. This would have the director spending about 90 hours on business attraction then, 21 hours on administrative duties, which comes out to about an hour a day on average. Business retention of 19 hours, marketing 13, interagency, which is coming to meetings with the village, chamber meetings, things like that, meeting with civic groups, and then fundraising 6 hours. So again, it wouldn't be that every month, but on average, that's how, based on the priorities you set forth, that's what it should average out to. Then looking here, this is the pink or orange up there is the rankings from the elected officials, from you guys, and then the yellow is the MEDC results. So you can see they had less time to business attraction, which is on the far right. It's about 24 hours less per month they had on that, and they kind of split it evenly between the others. So they had more to marketing, business retention, fundraising. And the one thing I heard from some of them, plus those of you that I talked to here that didn't give yours evenly, is the reason for that is some of you felt there are groups already working to attract businesses to some of those developments. So, you know, Inland is working to bring people out to Ogden Hill. So maybe she doesn't need to spend as much time doing that. Or RCG Ventures is working on where Kmart is on that plaza because they own that. And so that was what I heard from some of the MEDC members, plus some of the board members, is why they put less time to some of those. You know, next steps tonight, I'm hoping to see if there's any discussion from you guys. One, do you generally agree with the results? Obviously, it doesn't match up with what any of you individually did, but hopefully, overall, you kind of agree with it. And then how do you see this information being used? My plan would be to present it to the MEDC. If you guys generally agree with it, I'd present it to them at their next board meeting. Then, as I said, staff, I would use it to follow up with the MEDC, kind of on an ongoing basis. And then I would see a periodic review by this board to see if that's still where your priorities are. With that, I would open it up to any questions you have, and I'll put it back to the slide here that just kind of shows what it averaged out to per month.
Go ahead, Stan.
A question and 2 comments, if I may. Would anyone characterize the role of the Chamber of Commerce as impacting business retention as well? Is that a shared responsibility with the MEDC, do you think?
Not sure I can speak to. I think that should be, yes.
I know in my own mind, that was one reason I downplayed that area a bit, because I felt we had another entity in town that was well organized to address that. But my comments relate to a couple of areas where mathematically we're kind of out of sync, although the numbers aren't huge. It's just, I thought, a point worth discussing, and that would be with the industrial property. The board appears to have placed a little more than 2 times the priority on that the MEDC did. And again, that might be some personal variances and how they approached that question, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to air out these two areas where we were significantly apart statistically. That would be the industrial property and the amount of effort put into Orchard Road, the undeveloped part of it, which I think would include the light road extension and some other, the TIF district. So I would welcome some discussion of, are we closer than these numbers suggest, or what happened there?
On the industrial, we probably are because, sorry, you really push the difference between them, between the village and the MEDC is pretty much swayed by your prioritizing. 'Cause you put 50 to the, not to single you out there, number 6, but.
All right. Well, I think that's where the good jobs are,
Yeah.
is my point.
No, I mean, you've brought that up, and as I said, you said because there are people that are already out there fighting for some of those other areas. But I think that is probably the big cause between the distance between how the MEDC ranked it and how the village did.
Yeah, we're probably still twice them. If you don't count number 6, 15, 15, 15, 18, 5. We're probably still twice as high, but 50, I like that.
My last comment would be off the charts here, but maybe for futures. Is it time for us to begin thinking about the Route 47 corridor as well, and what can be done looking down the road to help that area develop to our benefit?
Yes, we can certainly start looking at that. We'll have a bit we'll need to annex to get there.
I look forward to that day.
I know when I ranked these that I was aware that there were other entities trying to get development in certain areas, but I looked at it strictly as a Village of Montgomery official, and I see, and I still do, that all of those business attraction areas are all important. And I know I had balanced my possible total points out evenly over those, simply because I think that they're all very important. I wouldn't like to see one not get any or as fewer hours or anything. And I think that as a board that we'd be looking at development and economic possibilities in any one of those areas. So that's kind of why I spread my numbers over the wide range.
In true government fashion, I'm going to focus on the list of all, if you go back to the
hours?
percentages, yeah, the hours. The bottom one, the least significant one, the 6 hours a month on fundraising, I know that it has to be something. I would like to see that. If you look at the MEDC board, had that at 10 hours a month, which is 3 weeks a year on fundraising, and we've talked, now that the MEDC we feel is fully funded, that we would minimize that to the golf outing. Just want, I know that there's fundraising, but then there's also interagency events like the holiday party and that might generate some revenue, but I just want to see our fundraising time minimized significantly. And
With an average of 6 hours a month, that probably will be mostly the golf outing then.
Yeah.
It'll probably all take place in one chunk there.
And Doc, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but these, I'm sure you've had a chance to look at some of these numbers. I don't know if you have any comment on these this evening, or I guess what you envision, what you envision the usefulness of these moving forward?
When we did this exercise, we kind of put it out there. Some of the board members expressed interest. Some of them were not as informed. And because of that, we were going to kind of come back with what we got from this board and then kind of have it, it's on our board agenda for the month of December. I think one of the concerns that we also have is that we are looking at attraction and retention. MEDC attracts, and I think the Chamber of Commerce sort of has the retention issue that hasn't been as effective as we'd like to see it. Ribbon cutting has been done by us, and we've been trying to retain those businesses. So I think we probably put more hours toward that retention issue too, and I think Shar spends quite a bit of time just doing that in terms of trying to keep our larger contributors on board, make sure that we are aware for them, and in that respect, trying to also retain those businesses. So that was where some of those extra hours were going to. And in terms of fundraising and the interagency stuff, we feel that was an area that also she's involved with, not only the village, but also some of the other things, the Kane County issues, other chambers, other EDC, so she does meet with them on a regular basis, and that does take some of her time. We feel that's an area that's well spent. Having not a lot of marketing dollars for the last 3 years, we were kind of excited to have some dollars in our checkbooks, so we had more, I think, allocated for that reason, for ICSC conventions, air shows, and things like that. And those Las Vegas shows are expensive for us to attend, so that's money that we feel is well spent, but again, allocated hours in preparation for that. And I think the time spent prior to these conventions is a lot of hours. Getting those meetings set up, you just don't arrive and then expect to have FaceTime with those different individuals. So there's hours spent, and quite a bit of that prior to those conventions. Again, that's time that we need to spend on those marketing and those issues. So again, this is an exercise. We've got the numbers. In December, we will sit down and we will adjust, but that was the intent, was to get feedback. And hopefully we will, I'm sure we can achieve those numbers.
Excellent.
Any other questions from the board at all?
Any questions, Dr. Schlupp or
Well,
staff?
yeah, one of the comments that actually trustee Bond had made previously was that the communication seemed to have been better. And I wanted to kind of just follow up on that and check and see how we are, because I know Jamie's gone now. We've got some new folks now. Rich will be starting January. So hopefully we're going to do some things to help nurture that relationship along and keep that communication as strong as it can be.
We will.
Because I truly feel like it's a partnership, and we need to make sure that,
I think between our monthly meetings, the BC, and then the fact Jeff and Shar meet on a monthly basis, and then hopefully we can continue that. And then bringing this information to the monthly, to these board meetings, and then do our quarterlies and things like that. Oh, I think we'll be able to keep that line of communication open. Our transparency will definitely be there for sure. Common term.
Excellent. Thank you, Doc. If you guys chew this over and have any more comments, the MEDC board meeting's not until December, a few weeks away yet, so provide comments on the 12th. So you can provide your comments to Jeff before then, and we'll go from there. Moving on this evening, is there any new or unfinished business to come before the board? Hearing none, you can see from our future meetings, this is our last meeting, obviously, before the holidays, so I wish everybody a splendid Thanksgiving, and you guys drive carefully, and we'll see everybody in December. And with that, we have no executive session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Moved by trustee Hines.
Second.
Trustee Youngerman.
Trustee Hines.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Stan, you need to try one.